All right, joining us on Pirate Radio Live on this Monday, Brandon Golden, former Pirate strength and conditioning coach, joining us, host of the Brandon Golden Show, and we'll talk about what's coming up with that, and talk about what's going on in the world of baseball. Brandon, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Hey, doing good. Pirates coming off a W against Coastal Carolina. Would have liked to mix in one or two more down in Conway, but 1-2 on the weekend. Any overall thoughts on the Pirates this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought there were some positives there for sure. I mean, Norby was doing his thing. The starter on Saturday, Gavin, right? Like he was gross. What's the kid's name? What's his last name?
Oh, Van Kempen, yeah.
Van Kempen. Yeah, he was lights out. Obviously. Yeah, you wish you could come away with a little bit more W's than we did, but yeah, I mean, encouraging stuff, and we're right there. There's a lot of baseball left to be played for sure.
I tell you, man, I try not to be too reactionary, but man, after the Friday night at home against North Carolina, pretty down, a blowout. We don't belong on the field with these guys. Then we turn around and whoop them the next day and end up with the unfortunate tie on Sunday. And then, Brandon, you get the two losses to Coastal. And once again, in my head, I'm saying, man, we're just not kind of on par with this team. And then we go out and get double digit hits yesterday and look like a power. And you look back at Friday and Saturday, and we still want Ethan Norby to be All American Ethan, but a lot of bloops, a lot of I think luck in a lot of those hits, especially early for Coastal. And then, as you said on Saturday, we go toe to toe on the mound and have a chance to win it on Saturday as well. So kind of razor thin the first two. You hate to lose them, but you end up feeling a little better after Sunday, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely going into we got 5 games this week, and our goal is always to win 40 regular season games. If we can win 40 games, we got a really good chance to host a regional and do all the things that we want to do. So that's still there, Clip, and we can still go out there and do what we do.
Yeah, busy week as you said, 5 game week. So this one's pretty stressful on the coaches, the players, the pitching. You got to handle it a little bit different. I was talking to Mike Mullis yesterday, watching the game, and I said, "Do you think about 5 game weeks on Sunday, or do you just throw whatever you can and try to win this game?" And he said it kind of resets after that. Like you're not thinking too much ahead on Sunday to the 5 game week. It's more about Tuesday, you're thinking about, all right, we got to get through this week, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's the kind of how you handle that situation. Brandon Golden joining us as East Carolina, coming off a pretty good week, which again could have been better, but got ODU coming up. We just talked to their head coach, Brandon. When you think ODU and baseball, you think Justin Verlander. What's made him one of the greatest of all time throughout his career?
Shoot, man, that's a great question. I think just the way he can repeat things and just have a very simplistic delivery. Verlander's been around for a long time, and just the way that he continues to learn the game and the way he communicates with people, it's just been second to none. I mean, obviously his stuff to be playing as long as he has, but I think just position and more of like a mentor type role and whatnot as of late. So that's been pretty neat to watch. But yeah, I mean, I think just the way he goes about his business and who he is, it's pretty special.
You've been around, the best of the best, Brandon, and some of it's got to be just God given physical ability. But like, what's the separator from the elite to the really good? Like, what are some of the traits those guys have that maybe
Yeah.
other guys don't?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to as simply as like who they are as people and what they don't allow like themselves to do. Like, I mean, Paul Skeens throwing tonight for USA, like was lucky enough to coach him with the collegiate national team. And it's funny enough, like I didn't realize he was a hitter. And when he was doing stuff, and we were walking down to the weight room, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like let's go get our stuff in." And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go. I'm in this BP group." And I was like, "Hey, you don't have to do that. Like, I know you throw the ball really well. Like, let's get rolling." But I mean, you talk about Skeens, just look at who he is as a person and how much he gives notoriety to our military when he can, and just talks about our country and how awesome it is, and just the non-negotiables for him of who he is as a person. Like, yeah, obviously he's an awesome talent. His arm is special. He can do things with the baseball most people can't. But there's just some non-negotiables about who he is as a person for him that he set. that I think lived. I think that's what separates people is just those non-negotiables that they set for themselves.
It made me think about last week. Zach Agnos, the Rockies were playing USA, and he sits
Yeah,
down. What was it, Harper Judge Schwarber, I believe? And
yeah,
I texted him, jokingly, "Thank you for your disservice to our country." And
yeah.
Zach said, "I answer when duty calls."
That's
But
it.
what a moment there, man, to get through those three.
Yeah, he was special. He was lights out. It was fun to watch, and I didn't get to watch it in person, but like watching the highlights of it, like you said, I mean, those are three Hall of Famers that he just faced, and he's been doing it at a high level clip. So it'll be fun to see what's going on there in Colorado. There's a lot of talk about the way they're shaking things up from the manager, all the way down to the players. So it'll be fun to see kind of how that looks, and we'll have to kind of get some insight from Zach on what's going on.
Brandon, I'm in basketball mode. I love this time of year, so I've been watching conference tournaments, stuff like that, along with watching East Carolina baseball. Have not watched the World Baseball Classic. I've certainly seen highlights. Obviously, saw the Schwarber bomb and man, some great crowds for these games, and not just USA. Great crowds for the other games too. So, have you followed it to this point?
Yeah, yeah, I've been able to watch a few games so far.
What I don't know. Anything stood out to you as far as you talked a little bit about USA? Any other countries, players standing out?
Yeah, I mean the Dominican always stands out. I think what Panama did the other night was really special, being able to win that game. So yeah, I mean it's really cool to watch how these players come together for their countries, and there's some guys that you see that you didn't know they had affiliations with those countries or what the loose affiliations are, and it doesn't really matter. It's kind of cool to see how entrenched people get, whether they're American born and they end up playing for Panama or Great Britain or whoever. Like
Yeah,
it's just cool to kind of see them rally around that and play for something bigger than themselves when they're getting geared up for their professional season.
yeah, makes for some great theater for the
No doubt.
spectators, definitely. Brandon, something I wanted to ask you about happened yesterday. So, Kobe Weber pitching for the Pirates. East Carolina bats around in the third inning, and he's sitting on the bench for 40 minutes or whatever. That's great that your team puts up, a six spot or whatever, but you also don't want to wait around that long. So, what's that like for a pitcher? And from I guess a strength, a health perspective, how tough is that on a guy? What can he do to stay loose? And that situation happens. So what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, I mean it's tough. I think it always depends on like who the pitcher is. Like there's some guys that every 10 to 12 minutes, depending on what it is, they'll get up and move around and stretch their body out. Some guys will throw plyos. It's one of those things like unless you've had a conversation with the pitcher prior to that of like, hey, how do you want to handle this? Like me as a performance coach, I would not necessarily want to go up and kind of have the conversation right then, unless it was a relationship that I had at a high level. Because you don't want to. Pitchers are so tough to talk to, anyways, and just with the how they go about their business and what they're trying to accomplish. So you kind of want to stay out of their way. But I think if you can just have a lot more advantageous than just sitting there not doing anything for 40 minutes. To your point.
Brandon Golden joining us. Brandon, I just remember watching baseball as a kid and seeing Maddox or Glavine or Smoltz in the dugout in like a 95-degree day with the coat on the arm and everything. I'm like, man, as a fat guy, I'm like, man, I'm sweating just looking at those guys. But I get, there is a science to keeping it at what as warm as possible, Brandon.
Yeah, it's all about the blood flow, and it's all about how can you have the musculature do what it needs to do in the time frame that it needs to, and the nutrients that the blood brings, and all that good stuff. So yeah, just having that thing hot.
That's a lot of things we don't think about while watching a game. I can tell you that, Brandon.
No
Goes
doubt.
into the science of it. So, Brandon Golden Show, Chris Martin, not the lead singer of Coldplay, but strength and conditioning coach at LSU, coming up on the Brandon Golden Show. What'd you guys talk about?
Yeah, so Chris is awesome, man. Like he's been in professional baseball with the Astros and did a lot on the rehab side. We just really kind of dove into what was different about the rehab side of things for him, and really how he got elevated to where he's been as young as his career is, and just as young as he is as a coach. He speaks very well. He's a very intelligent coach that understands the game and understands what he's trying to accomplish. So then we talked a little bit of like how he's doing things at LSU and just kind of what to expect if you're that type of player playing in the SEC and what that looks like. And yeah, it's going to be a fun listen because just kind of who he is and being able to get to know him a little bit.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. And a busy week for ECU baseball, World Baseball Classic. So, for a baseball fan, heck, you got to be fired up. For basketball folks, great time of the year as well. You're going to be filling out a bracket. Brandon, we got to get you in the Pirate Radio Challenge this year.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yeah,
Good
we'll
deal.
win the whole thing.
Brandon, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, man. See you, Clip.